Dear all, Assalamu alaikum. I hope all of you would be doing well. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the paper changes which are taking place in the ATX space for the ATX UK variant and which is applicable from June 23 onwards. So just to give you a reference, these changes which we are going to discuss is applicable since September 22 on all of the strategic professional exams part. For ATX purposes, it was deferred until the applicability of the new Finance Act, which is always the June of the year. So this is applicable for the first time in ATX, but on all other papers that is already applicable. So previously, whatever was the structure of the ATX, now the structure of ATX is uh, the paper is divided into two sections. One is section A, which consists of a 50-mark question. And there is a section B, which is two questions of 50-mark, one question. And there would be two questions of 25 marks each. So this is now the breakup of the paper and how it is further cascaded down. So it is further subdivided into. So there is much more emphasis now on the professional skills marks. So if I talk about, for example, in section A, section B, there are some text related marks, which is like 40. Professional marks 10, which is then sum up to 50 marks for section A. For section B, I'm talking about each question. So 20 marks for each question, 5 marks for in each question for professional exam. As a result, if I sum it up at a total level, so this becomes 80 marks. So I'm taking it as multiply by 2. If I look into this, 20 marks, and the total is like 100 marks. So just one thing I like to highlight from this analysis, like professional marks in previously, and those who are like attempting ATX for the second time or more, they knew this thing for a fact. Previously, these professional marks were only 4 marks, and these 4 marks are included always in section A. So it is like the general perception is that the only professional skills, the professional marks is applicable in the section A. But now across all of the strategic professional optional exams, these are divided across the board. Okay. So previously they were only 4 marks. So students do not give a very much care about it or do not give a very much respect about it. But since now they are of 20 marks, so they truly deserve a good practice on it, a good understanding of the professional marks, how to grasp them, stuff like that. So basically this, and interestingly, one thing I like to highlight, in the section A, in the 50 mark, there is still 5 marks on ethics. So effectively, this 40 minus 5. So effectively, the text marks are 35. 5 marks is on ethics. 10 is the professional marks. So if you look into the paper division, 75 marks are text related. where you are supposed to discuss the text related issues. 5 marks on and 20 marks on basically the professional skills. How to grasp these marks? I would be sharing a separate video on that, like how to grasp these ethics related marks, these 5 marks on ethics and other certain things. But this video mainly emphasize on these professional marks. Okay, so how to grasp these professional marks, for the bifurcation of this, etc, etc. So let me start. So this is the discussion of the, this is the background of the professional marks. Now let's start looking into the professional marks. So what the examiner expects in the professional skills marks. In the professional skills, here the marks will be rewarded to demonstrate to demonstrate the following skills. And what skills examiner expects you to demonstrate? The first skill which examiner expects you to demonstrate is communication. The second skill which examiner expects you to demonstrate is analysis and evaluation. The third skill which examiner expects you to demonstrate is skepticism. And the fourth skill which examiner expects you to demonstrate is commercial acumen. Okay. In the section A, I will be discussing shortly what are the objectives, what is the examiner perspective on these 4 dimensions. But before I start discussing the dimensions, I like to add one thing. In section A, all 4 of these skills could be examined. In section A, all 4 of these skills could be examined. Whereas in section B, there would be a combination of professional skills appropriate to the scenario. Okay. So again, a combination of professional skills, whatever is the appropriate to the scenario. Second thing, in each question, there would be a minimum of 2 skills and last but not the least, communication skills will not be examined in section B. So in section B, the possible skills could be, it could be analysis evaluation, it could be skepticism, it could be commercial acumen. But communication would not be part of the section B. Okay. One thing I like to highlight with respect to these professional marks. Previously, we were of the impression that the professional marks, they do relate to any particular professional skill which we have to demonstrate. But now, the professional skill marks, are basically awarded for the way in which questions are answered. So what does it mean, the way in which questions are answered? It means basically referencing to the approach which you are taking towards the exam, the manner in which the work is carried out, the particular points which you are identifying, you are discussing. For example, whether you are taking any kind of relief or not. So first, sharing its conditions, relating conditions with respect to the scenario, then applying it and immediately referencing that to the scenario. So these kind of things are basically the professional marks which the examiner expects you to demonstrate over here. Okay. And one further advice I like to share. The professional marks are basically earned by following any instructions and responding to all of the requirements. So for example, if you are not responding requirement B, for example, so it does not deduct only the requirement B marks, rather it would also deduct your professional marks as well. So for example, following any instructions means if your examiner asked you mainly to calculate, but you are discussing it more as compared to calculation. So whether you are doing it, calculations are right, but since you are not following the appropriate instructions, there would be deduction. If the requirement says discuss the implications and you are making a set of calculations, and rather than discussing, you are focusing on the calculation. So these kind of stuff are the ones which will be basically deducting your professional marks. So first way, I'm giving you a high level direction how to grasp the professional skills marks. First of all, follow any instructions and respond to all of the requirements. Second, take time to think about the information provided and the relevant technical rules which apply to the work which you are going to do. So what happens previously? Previously, we just read the question and start writing it, right? Because we have a lot of time pressure in our mind. But now the examiner expect, since your thinking marks are more, which is like 20 to 25 marks, and 75 is the text marks only. So examiner expects you to think before you write, rather than you start writing and then think. Thank God to the CB platform that you have liberty to erase it easily. Otherwise, in the paper form, that was one of the biggest issue for the examiner. Like students, they do write half or three quarter or a complete page, and then they realize like this is the not the right way to start. So even then, the examiner is now expecting you to respond in a more professional way, in a more appropriate way, so that you guys would be able to grasp more professional marks. Okay. Uh, Second thing. Third thing, taking care, making it easy as possible for the manager, and the manager in our exam is always the examiner, to follow and understand what you have done. So I always used to guide to my students make your workings, make your answer with the approach you are telling, responding this thing to someone where you are not there to explain. So just to give you a reference, for example, if I have shared something with my manager in my professional life, and if manager is not able to understand what I have written, what I am trying to say, he simply calls me up. He simply pick up his phone, gives me a call, or respond to my email and take clarity. But it is a situation where you have just one opportunity to respond to the email of your manager, which is like the examiner. If he understands what you are saying, what you are trying to say, that's perfectly fine. He will give you, you will be in a green zone. But if your manager, i.e., the examiner, doesn't understand what you are trying to say, then, my dear friends, you will be in a very trouble situation. So make your answer with the approach always like you are explaining it to the examiner, and while explaining, your wording should be simple enough, your working should be clear enough, so that you understand, your examiner, your manager understands what you have mentioned. And at times, for this point, I simply gives a guidance to my students, like while reading the answer from the exam kit, if you understand what is mentioned in the exam kit, it means it is well drafted. And if after referring even to the exam kit, you still need a tutor to guide you what he has written, it means the exam kit, either exam kit is not up to the mark, or you are not capable enough to understand the language of the exam kit, right? So either of this. So we cannot think for the examiner he's not capable enough. So it's we have to blame ourselves, like we are not able enough to explain it in the way what he was expecting. So uh, that's the key things, key messages to grasp this. uh, thank you very much. In the next video, in the second round of this video, we will be looking for uh, how, what does each and every this professional skill means for us. So stay tuned. We'll meet you in the second video for this. Thank you very much.